Frost's embrace. The mountain air bit at Anya Sharma's cheeks as she stepped out of her modest sedan. Before her stood the imposing Everest Pines Resort, its glass and stone facade reflecting the snow-capped Himalayas behind it. She straightened her navy blue blazer, mentally rehearsing her presentation one last time. This opportunity to plan the resort's prestigious wedding showcase could change everything for her struggling event company. Inside, the lobby stretched before her like a cathedral of luxury, polished granite floors, soaring ceilings adorned with crystal chandeliers, and floor-to-ceiling windows framing the breathtaking mountain range. The staff moved with practiced precision, their uniforms as crisp as their smiles were rehearsed. Ms. Sharma, a poised woman with silver-streaked hair, approached. "I'm Priya Mathur, resort manager. Mr. Malhotra is waiting in the penthouse conference room." The elevator ride to the top floor gave Anya precious minutes to collect herself. Vikram Malhotra's reputation preceded him. Brilliant businessman, ruthless negotiator, and notoriously difficult to please. The rumors about his cold demeanor were as plentiful as the zeros in his bank account. Priya led her into a sleek boardroom where floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the mountain panorama. At the far end stood a man gazing outward, his back to them. Even without seeing his face, his presence commanded the room. "Sir, Ms. Anya Sharma from Celestial Events has arrived," Priya announced. When he turned, Anya's breath caught slightly. Vikram Malhotra was younger than she'd expected, perhaps in his late 30s, with sharp features that seemed carved from the same granite as the mountains. His charcoal suit fit impeccably across broad shoulders, and his dark eyes assessed her with clinical detachment. "You're late," he stated flatly, though Anya knew she was precisely on time. "Actually, I'm exactly on schedule, Mr. Malhotra," she replied, maintaining eye contact while setting down her portfolio. "Shall we begin?" Something flickered briefly in his expression, surprise perhaps before the mask returned. He gestured toward a chair without warmth. For the next 30 minutes, Anya presented her vision for the resort's inaugural wedding showcase, an event designed to position Everest Pines as the premier destination for luxury weddings in the region. Throughout her presentation, Vikram remained mostly silent, occasionally asking pointed questions that probed for weaknesses in her plan. "Your concept is adequate," he finally said, his tone making the word sound like a failure. "But why should I entrust this to your company? You have no experience with events of this magnitude." Anya met his gaze steadily. "Because while larger firms will treat this as just another project, for me it's everything. I'll give this showcase the attention it deserves. And frankly, Mr. Malhotra, I don't believe in adequate. I deliver exceptional." For the first time, Vikram's expression changed subtly. He leaned forward, studying her as if she were a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. "Bold words, Ms. Sharma. I've heard similar promises before." "Then allow me to show you, rather than tell you. Give me 2 weeks to develop a comprehensive plan. If it doesn't exceed your expectations, you owe me nothing." His dark eyes narrowed. "You're willing to work for 2 weeks with no guarantee of payment?" "I'm confident in my abilities," she said simply. A tense silence stretched between them before Vikram abruptly stood. "Very well. 2 weeks. Priya will show you around the property and provide whatever information you require." As he gathered his papers, Anya noticed the way staff members tensed when he approached, their smiles becoming fixed and nervous. When he left, the atmosphere in the room visibly lightened. Later, as Priya toured her through the resort's facilities, Anya learned fragments of Vikram's story. The once gregarious heir to the Malhotra hospitality empire had become increasingly isolated after a devastating business betrayal 3 years earlier. His former business partner and closest friend, Rohit Kapoor, nearly destroyed everything his family built. Priya explained quietly as they walked through the resort's grand ballroom, and then his fiancée left him for Rohit. Since then, she shrugged expressively. "He doesn't trust anyone," Anya finished for her. "Not even himself." "I sometimes think," Priya said with a sad smile. "He expects betrayal at every turn. The board members, the staff, even the guests, everyone has an angle in his mind." That evening, driving back to her small apartment in the city, Anya caught herself thinking about the cold man with wounded eyes. She recognized the look. She'd seen it in the mirror after her own heartbreaks. "Focus, Anya," she muttered to herself. "This is business, not therapy." Yet something told her that winning this contract would require more than just professional excellence. It would mean somehow proving to a man who trusted no one that loyalty wasn't always an illusion. The snow began to fall harder as she drove, blanketing the world in white silence. Somewhere behind her in his penthouse suite, Vikram Malhotra was likely already looking for ways to find her lacking. Let him try, she thought. Some people built walls to keep others out, but Anya had learned long ago that the right person could build doors instead. Weathering the storm 3 weeks later, Anya stood in the center of Everest Pine's transformed grand ballroom, directing her small team as they put the finishing touches on the wedding showcase set to begin in just 2 hours. Crystal-draped mandaps represented different cultural wedding styles, while meticulously arranged floral installations created a journey through seasonal themes. After Vikram had reluctantly approved her proposal, she'd thrown herself into making this showcase flawless. The lighting in the spring section needs to be softer, she instructed her assistant Divya. And please check if the ice sculpture for the winter display has started melting. On it, Divya nodded. Hurrying away, Anya checked her watch. The resort's most important clients and wedding industry influencers would soon arrive, alongside potential couples looking to book their dream weddings. Everything had to be perfect. Impressive, came a familiar voice behind her. She turned to find Vikram observing the transformation, his expression guarded but eyes moving analytically over every detail. Over the past weeks, their interactions had been minimal but intense, his questions always probing, his approval reluctant but fair. Thank you, she replied, though the real test begins when the guests arrive. Indeed. He adjusted his cufflinks, a nervous habit she'd noticed. The board members are already gathering in the North Terrace. Several have expressed concerns about your unconventional approach, the budget, the risk. His jaw tightened. Suresh Tandon in particular seems determined to find fault. Anya had encountered Suresh during preparations, a silver-haired board member with a permanent look of disapproval, who had questioned her decisions at every turn. Well, I hope to convert their concerns into confidence tonight, she said with more certainty than she felt. Vikram studied her for a moment longer. For both our sakes, Ms. Sharma. With that cryptic comment, he departed to greet the arriving board members. The showcase began brilliantly. Guests moved through the experiential displays with expressions of wonder, while catering staff circulated with signature cocktails and cuisine samplings. Anya floated through the crowd answering questions and making connections, occasionally catching glimpses of Vikram engaged in tense conversations with board members. It was during a live demonstration of a traditional ceremony that disaster struck. A waiter carrying a tray of champagne tripped, sending glasses crashing into the electrical panel controlling the ballroom's lighting system. Sparks flew and suddenly half the room plunged into darkness. Panicked murmurs rippled through the crowd. In the dim emergency lighting, Anya saw Suresh Tandon's satisfied smirk as he leaned toward Vikram, whispering something that made Vikram's expression harden. Without hesitation, Anya grabbed a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. What better way to experience the romance of a wedding than by candlelight? Our team will enhance the evening's magic momentarily. She rushed to Divya. Get every candle in the resort now, and have someone check the kitchen's portable generators. The next 20 minutes were controlled chaos. While technicians worked frantically on the electrical system, Anya's team transformed the setback into an enchanting feature. Hundreds of candles and battery-operated fairy lights created an intimate atmosphere that actually enhanced the showcase's romantic appeal. When she passed Vikram speaking with a prominent wedding magazine editor, she caught his words. Completely intentional. Ms. Sharma believes authentic experiences create more memorable events than perfect ones. Their eyes met across the room. For the first time, she saw something like respect in his gaze. The crisis averted, Anya finally had a moment to catch her breath on the terrace. The snow was falling gently outside, illuminated by the resort's exterior lights. That was quite the recovery, came Vikram's voice as he joined her. Most planners would have fallen apart. I don't believe in falling apart when solutions are possible, she replied, turning to face him. No, I don't imagine you do. Something in his tone had changed, becoming less clinical. Unfortunately, not everyone appreciates solutions. Inside, through the glass doors, she could see Suresh Tandon gesturing angrily to other board members. What's happening? She asked. Vikram's face darkened. Suresh is using the electrical incident to suggest we've outgrown our current leadership. He's been waiting for an opportunity to challenge my position. His laugh was humorless. I expected as much. He was Rohit's friend before everything fell apart. That's ridiculous. The showcase is a success despite the minor setback. Success doesn't matter when people have already decided what narrative they prefer. The bitterness in his voice revealed old wounds. A server approached, interrupting their conversation. Mr. Malhotra, urgent call from accounting in your office. Vikram excused himself, leaving Anya watching the board members' animated discussion. Something felt wrong about Suresh's timing and attitude. Acting on instinct, she approached a waiter who had been serving their section. That board member in the gray suit. Has he been on his phone much tonight? The waiter nodded. Constantly, ma'am. And I overheard him say something strange before the lights went out, something about timing being perfect, a chill that had nothing to do with the winter night ran through Anya. She hurried toward Vikram's office, bypassing his secretary with a hasty explanation. Inside, she found him staring at his computer, face pale. Someone's accessing our booking system, he said without looking up. Transferring confirmed reservations to another resort. We're losing millions in bookings while we're distracted with this showcase. It's Suresh, Anya said firmly. This isn't coincidence. Vikram's head snapped up. What do you mean? She quickly explained her suspicions and what the waiter had overheard. I think the electrical incident was planned. A distraction while they attacked your system. For a moment he looked like he might dismiss her theory, his instinct to distrust clearly battling against the evidence. Then determination hardened his features. If you're right, we need proof, and we need to stop the transfer immediately. Over the next hour, while the showcase continued under Divya's management, Anya and Vikram worked with the resort's IT director to trace the breach. Sure enough, it led back to an authorization code used by Suresh, exposing his connection to a competing resort chain. We need to confront him, Anya said as they reviewed the evidence. We will. Vikram's voice was ice. But first we save my resort. Together, they developed a rapid response. The IT team blocked further transfers and secured the system, while Vikram prepared to address the board with evidence of Suresh's sabotage. Before they returned to the showcase, Vikram paused at the door. Why are you helping me? This goes well beyond your duties as event planner. Anya considered her answer carefully. Because what's happening isn't right, and because I believe in finishing what I start. Most people would distance themselves from a sinking ship. I don't see a sinking ship, she replied simply. I see a captain worth following. Something shifted in Vikram's eyes, a momentary vulnerability quickly masked. But for that brief instant, Anya glimpsed the man behind the fortress, and she understood why his walls were so high. Let's go save your resort, she said softly. He nodded once, and together they stepped back into the fray, ready to face the storm that awaited them. Thawing defenses, the aftermath of the showcase unfolded like a carefully orchestrated drama. With evidence in hand, Vikram had confronted Suresh before the entire board, exposing his sabotage and connection to rival hotel chain Pinnacle Resorts. The scandal had dominated hospitality industry news for days, while Everest Pines emerged with a strengthened reputation, thanks to the showcase's ultimate success despite the attempted sabotage. 2 weeks later, Anya found herself once again entering Vikram's office, this time with a different kind of nervousness. The winter sunlight streamed through the panoramic windows, illuminating the man behind the imposing desk. Since that night, something had shifted between them. A cautious professional respect had formed, though Vikram's walls remained firmly intact. You wanted to see me? She asked, settling into the chair opposite him. Yes. Vikram pushed a folder across the desk. I'd like to offer you a contract as Everest Pines' exclusive event coordinator. Anya blinked in surprise. That's unexpected, is it? His expression remained controlled, but his eyes had softened slightly. You proved your capability during the showcase, and your assistance with the Suresh situation demonstrated loyalty that's rare in this industry. She opened the folder, eyes widening at the generous terms. This is substantially more than market rate. I pay for excellence. His tone was matter-of-fact. Do you accept? Anya hesitated. The offer was tempting, life-changing even. Her struggling business could transform overnight, yet something felt unresolved. "Before I answer, I'd like to understand something," she said carefully. "Am I being hired for my professional skills or because you think you can trust me?" Vikram's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "Does the distinction matter?" "It does to me." She closed the folder. "Trust isn't a transaction, Mr. Malhotra." A tense silence fell between them. Finally, Vikram stood and walked to the window, his back to her. "The board is pleased with the publicity from the showcase," he said, changing subjects. "Bookings have increased 30%. They've authorized expansion plans for a new wellness wing." "Congratulations," Anya replied, recognizing his retreat behind business talk. "That's excellent news. I'd like you to oversee the launch events." He turned to face her. "If you accept the position." She studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I'll accept, but with one condition." His eyebrow raised slightly. "Which is?" "That we work as partners, not as employer and subordinate. I need the freedom to speak honestly without fear of dismissal." For a moment, something like amusement flickered across his features. "You already speak quite freely, Ms. Sharma." "Anya," she corrected. "If we're going to work closely together, formalities seem unnecessary." After a brief hesitation, he nodded. "Anya, then. And I should call you?" "Vikram is fine. For professional settings." The concession seemed to cost him effort, as if even this small familiarity represented a risk. Over the following month, they settled into a productive, if sometimes tense, working relationship. Anya divided her time between coordinating regular resort events and planning the wellness wing launch, scheduled for spring. Vikram remained demanding and exacting, but increasingly sought her input on decisions. It was during a site visit to the construction area that Anya first glimpsed a different side of him. They were discussing the layout of the meditation garden when an elderly groundskeeper approached, looking anxious. "Mr. Malhotra, forgive the interruption," the man said, twisting his worn cap in his hands. "My grandson, he is very ill. The hospital in Delhi. I need advance on salary for treatment." Anya expected Vikram to direct the man to HR or perhaps offer a formal loan. Instead, he surprised her. "Prakash, isn't it? How old is your grandson?" 5 years, sir. Leukemia." Vikram nodded gravely. "Go to my office. Priya will arrange for our company doctor to refer you to the best specialist. The resort will cover the treatment costs." The old man's eyes filled with tears. "Sir, I cannot repay." "It's not a loan," Vikram interrupted. "Your family has served this resort for 3 generations. We take care of our own." After the groundskeeper left, Anya couldn't help her curious glance. Vikram caught it and frowned. "What? Nothing. That was just unexpected? Because you believe I'm incapable of compassion?" His tone was defensive. "No," she said carefully. "Because you work so hard to appear that way." The observation landed like a challenge between them. For a moment, Vikram seemed about to retreat behind his usual wall of professionalism. Instead, he sighed. "My father believed business was about people first, profit second. Despite evidence to the contrary, some habits remain ingrained." It was the first personal detail he'd volunteered, and Anya recognized the significance. "Your father sounds like a wise man." "He was," Vikram said quietly, "until trust in the wrong person destroyed his health. The betrayal broke him as much as the financial strain." Understanding dawned. "That's why you keep everyone at a distance." His expression closed again. "We should continue the inspection. The contractor needs these approvals by tomorrow." The moment had passed, but something had shifted. In the days that followed, Anya began noticing small changes in their interactions. A less guarded tone, occasional shared cups of tea during late planning sessions, even a rare smile when she managed to negotiate a particularly difficult vendor down to budget. The real breakthrough came unexpectedly, during a violent Himalayan storm that stranded them at the resort after a late meeting. With roads impassable and Anya's usual guest room under renovation, Priya had apologetically assigned her to the only available space, a suite adjacent to Vikram's penthouse. Unable to sleep with the wind howling outside, Anya was surprised to find lights still on in the shared terrace when she went to close her curtains. Through the glass doors, she could see Vikram seated alone, nursing a glass of whiskey as he stared out at the storm. Something in his solitary figure compelled her to slide open her door. "Couldn't sleep either?" She called over the wind. He turned, surprise evident. "The storm. It reminds me of the night my father died." The confession was so unexpected that Anya hesitated before stepping onto the covered terrace, wrapping her borrowed resort robe tighter against the cold. "I'm sorry," she said simply, taking the seat across from him. To her surprise, he continued. "It was a night like this. I was in London closing an acquisition. My mother called, but I was too busy to answer." His knuckles whitened around the glass. "By the time I called back, he was gone." "You couldn't have known," Anya said gently. "Couldn't I?" His bitter laugh cut through the storm sounds. "I made a choice, business over family, just as Rohit chose betrayal over friendship, and Nisha chose his money over what I thought was love. The pieces of his story were finally coming together, and now you choose isolation over vulnerability." His eyes snapped to hers, a flash of anger quickly replaced by weariness. "It's not a choice when it's the only safe option. Is it safe, though?" She leaned forward. "Or is it just empty?" For a long moment only the storm spoke between them. Then Vikram set down his glass. "You ask dangerous questions." "Anya Sharma." "Someone should," she replied softly. Another silence stretched, this one charged with unspoken possibilities. "I should let you rest," he finally said, standing. As he passed her chair, he paused. For a heartbeat, Anya thought he might say something more, might reach out. Instead, he merely nodded and continued to his suite, leaving her alone with the storm and the lingering sense that something fundamental had changed between them. Inside her room, Anya found herself standing at the window long after Vikram had gone, watching the snow swirl against the darkness. The man was a contradiction, capable of great compassion yet determined to appear heartless, brilliant at business yet blind to the cost of his self-imposed exile. And despite her professional resolve, she couldn't deny the growing warmth she felt whenever he briefly lowered his guard. A warmth that had nothing to do with career advancement, and everything to do with the glimpses of the man behind the mask. A man worth knowing, perhaps even worth the risk of caring about. Dangerous indeed, she whispered to herself, finally turning away from the window as the storm began to subside. Spring's whisper April arrived at Everest Pines with a riotous display of rhododendrons, carpeting the lower slopes and warming temperatures melting the winter's lingering snow. Inside the resort, preparations for the Wellness Wing's grand opening reached fever pitch as Anya coordinated the final details with a precision born of experience and growing confidence in her position. The month since that stormy night had brought subtle but undeniable changes to her relationship with Vikram. Their professional partnership had evolved into something more comfortable, perhaps even friendship. He sought her opinion more frequently, occasionally shared meals in his private dining room to discuss business, and had twice asked her to represent the resort at industry events he was too busy to attend. For Anya, these changes were both welcome and worrisome, each small revelation of the man beneath the armor, his dry sense of humor, his genuine care for longtime employees, his passionate vision for ethical luxury hospitality, only deepened her growing feelings. Feelings she carefully kept contained behind professional courtesy. "The meditation instructor is confirmed for the demonstration," Divya reported, checking items off her tablet as they walked through the nearly completed wellness wing. "And the organic chef will arrive tomorrow for menu testing." "Perfect," Anya nodded, admiring the soaring ceilings of the yoga studio, where morning light streamed through cleverly positioned skylights. "Has Mr. Malhotra approved the final guest list?" Divya's slight hesitation caught Anya's attention. "What is it?" "He added someone this morning. A woman named Nisha Kapoor." Anya stopped walking. The name struck like a physical blow. Nisha, the fiancée who had left Vikram for his former friend and business partner. "Are you sure?" she asked, struggling to keep her voice neutral. "Positive. Apparently she reached out directly. She's an influencer now, specializing in luxury wellness travel. Over 2 million followers." "I see." Anya's mind raced with questions she had no right to ask. Why would Vikram invite the woman who had betrayed him so deeply? And why hadn't he mentioned it? "Is everything okay?" Divya asked, watching her carefully. "Fine. Just surprised." Anya forced a smile. "Please confirm all the rooms for our VIP guest will have the welcome packages by tomorrow." Later that afternoon, she found herself hesitating outside Vikram's office, unsure whether to broach the subject. Professional boundaries dictated she simply accept his addition to the guest list without question. But the memory of his bitter words during the storm, about Nisha choosing money over love, made her pause. Before she could decide, The door opened and Vikram nearly collided with her. Anya. His surprise quickly shifted to concern. Is something wrong? No, she faltered, then squared her shoulders. I just had a question about the guest list edition. Understanding crossed his features. He stepped back, gesturing her inside. Nisha. Yes. She entered, remaining standing even when he took his seat behind the desk. I was surprised, given your history. It's a business decision, he said flatly. Her social media presence will benefit the launch. Anya nodded slowly. Of course. I just thought, considering what you've told me, what I told you during a moment of weakness doesn't affect business operations. His tone had cooled considerably. The words stung more than they should have. A moment of weakness. I see. That's not... He ran a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of frustration. Her husband is an investor in several competing properties. Inviting them is strategic. Husband? The word slipped out before she could stop it. Something shifted in Vikram's expression. A fleeting vulnerability quickly masked. Yes, she married Rohit 6 months after leaving me. The simple statement carried years of pain. Anya felt a surge of protectiveness that surprised her with its intensity. And you're ready to face them both? Here in your resort? I've faced worse. His smile was sharp, humorless. Besides, success is the best revenge, isn't it? Anya studied him, seeing past the casual dismissal to the deliberate armor being constructed. He was preparing for battle, not reconciliation. Vikram, she said softly, using his first name without the professional context they usually maintained. You don't have to prove anything to them. His dark eyes met hers, something unreadable flickering there. Don't I? The question hung between them, loaded with meanings neither was ready to address. Will you be bringing anyone to the opening gala? He asked suddenly, changing the subject. The question caught her off guard. Bringing anyone? A date, he clarified, his tone deliberately casual. It's a social event after all. I hadn't planned to. I'll be working. He nodded, turning his attention to papers on his desk in clear dismissal. Of course. That's professional of you. Confused by the exchange, Anya left his office with more questions than answers. The evening before the grand opening, Anya found herself working late, reviewing final arrangements in the empty wellness center. The space was transformed. Flowering plants brought in from the resort's greenhouse created an indoor garden effect, while subtle lighting enhanced the natural materials and flowing water features. It's beautiful, came Vikram's voice from behind her. She turned to find him standing in the doorway, his tie loosened and jacket absent, a rare sight of the man partially unbuttoned from his usual formality. Thank you, she smiled. Though I can't take all the credit, your vision for the space was inspired. He walked further in, hands in his pockets. Our vision. You refined every concept. The acknowledgement of their partnership warmed her. For a moment, they stood in comfortable silence, admiring the culmination of months of work. I've been thinking about what you said, he finally spoke, his voice quieter than usual, about not needing to prove anything to Nisha and Rohit. And? You're right. I don't. He turned to face her fully. But perhaps I needed to prove something to myself. What's that? She asked, aware of a subtle shift in the atmosphere between them. That I could face them without the anger that's defined me for years. His honesty was disarming. That their betrayal doesn't control me anymore. Anya felt a surge of pride for him. That's significant progress. A half smile touched his lips. Don't sound so surprised. Even glaciers melt eventually. I'm not surprised, she said softly. Just happy for you. Something in her tone must have revealed more than she intended. Vikram's expression changed, becoming intent, searching. Anya, he began, taking a step closer. I've been meaning to ask you something. Her heart quickened inexplicably. Yes? Before he could continue, the maintenance manager burst in, apologizing profusely for the interruption, but needing urgent approval for a last-minute electrical adjustment. By the time the matter was resolved, the moment had broken, and Vikram had retreated behind his professional facade. Get some rest, he told her, as they parted ways in the lobby. Tomorrow's a big day for both of us. The grand opening dawned with perfect weather and excited anticipation. By midday, the resort buzzed with activity as journalists, influencers, and industry leaders arrived. Anya moved through the controlled chaos with practiced ease, elegant in a deep emerald gown that complemented her role as both coordinator and resort representative. It was during the champagne reception that she first spotted them, a striking couple moving through the crowd with practiced social grace. The woman was beautiful in that polished, camera-ready way that spoke of careful curation, while the man beside her exuded confident charm as he shook hands and laughed with apparent ease. Nisha and Rohit Kapoor had arrived. From across the room, Anya saw Vikram stiffen momentarily before composing himself and continuing his conversation with a prominent hotel reviewer. She watched as he deliberately avoided looking toward his former fiancé and friend, though his increased grip on his champagne flute betrayed his awareness. "Quite the power couple," murmured Divya, appearing at her side. "Though she keeps glancing at Mr. Malhotra when her husband isn't looking." "Does she?" Anya couldn't help asking. Like she's comparing what she left behind with what she chose." Divya shrugged. "Can't blame her. Mr. Malhotra cuts quite the figure in that suit." Anya couldn't disagree. Vikram was undeniably handsome tonight, his formal attire accentuating his athletic build, his usually serious expression softened by the subtle lighting. As the evening progressed into dinner, Anya found herself seated at a table adjacent to Vikram's where he was surrounded by key investors. Across the room, the Kapoors held court with a group of social media personalities. The careful seating arrangement had been deliberate, keeping former lovers at a respectable distance. It was during the dessert course that the carefully constructed piece fractured. Rohit, several glasses of wine past discretion, approached Vikram's table with a too loud greeting. "The prodigal son returns to glory," he announced, clapping Vikram's shoulder with false camaraderie. "Though I must say, old friend, Pinnacle's new Goa property makes this place look positively provincial." A hush fell over the nearby tables. Anya saw Vikram's jaw tighten, though his expression remained coolly polite. "Rohit, I'm glad you could attend." His control was admirable. "I'm sure your expertise in provincial properties gives you unique perspective." The subtle insult wasn't lost on Rohit, whose jovial expression hardened. "Always the snob, Vikram. Some things never change." His gaze swept the table before landing on Anya. "Though your taste in companions has improved, this one's actually genuine, unlike my wife." Nisha, who had approached behind him, flushed crimson. "Rohit, that's enough." "What?" He laughed unpleasantly, just congratulating Vikram on finally finding someone who might want him for more than his money. Though given recent investments, even that's questionable. The crude implication that Anya was somehow romantically involved with Vikram for financial gain struck like a slap. Before she could respond, Vikram was on his feet, his voice dangerously quiet. "Apologize to Ms. Sharma, now." The tension between the men crackled like electricity. Anya rose quickly, placing a restraining hand on Vikram's arm. "It's fine," she said firmly. "Mr. Kapoor clearly doesn't understand professional relationships, or professionalism in general." Several guests tittered, and Rohit's face darkened with embarrassment. "My mistake," he said insincerely. "I assumed, given how he looks at you." "I think you've had enough champagne," Nisha interrupted, pulling at her husband's arm. "We should go." As she guided him away, she glanced back once at Vikram, her expression unreadable. Vikram remained rigid until they disappeared from view, then abruptly excused himself from the table. Concerned, Anya followed him onto the terrace where he stood gripping the railing, his knuckles white. "Are you all right?" she asked gently. "I should be asking you that," he replied without turning. "Rohit's behavior was inexcusable. I've handled worse." She moved beside him, the cool night air raising goosebumps on her bare arms. "Are you upset about seeing her again?" He turned to face her, surprise evident. "Nisha, no." His laugh held no humor. "That's what bothers me. I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, nothing but pity for her choice. Isn't that good? It means you've moved on." "Yes," he said quietly. "I have." Something in the way he looked at her made Anya's breath catch. For a suspended moment, the sounds of the gala faded away, leaving only the two of them under the vast Himalayan sky. Vikram reached out, his fingers gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Anya, what Rohit said about the way I look at you." "Mr. Malhotra!" Priya's voice shattered the moment as she hurried onto the terrace. "There's an issue with the payments processor. The system is rejecting guest bookings." The spell broken, Vikram's hand dropped away. Professional masks slid back into place as they both turned to address the crisis, the unspoken words between them left hanging in the mountain air. Hours later, with the technical issue resolved and guests departed, Anya stood alone in her office, conflicted emotions warring within her. Whatever had nearly happened on that terrace represented a dangerous crossing of boundaries she had carefully maintained despite her growing feelings. A soft knock on her door startled her. Vikram stood there, tie undone and weariness evident in his stance. "The crisis is fully resolved," he reported. "A software glitch, nothing malicious." "Good," she nodded, keeping her desk between them like a shield. "The launch was otherwise a success." "It was." He hesitated, then stepped further into the room. "Anya, about earlier." "It's been a long day," she interrupted, suddenly afraid of what he might say. "We're both tired. Whatever happened on the terrace was just the moment. Stress. Relief at facing your past successfully." His expression closed, the vulnerability vanishing. "Of course. You're right. I think it's best if we maintain our professional relationship," she continued, the words painful but necessary. "You're still healing, and I'm not interested in being someone's proof that they can trust again." The statement hung between them, harsh in its honesty. Vikram regarded her steadily, his eyes unreadable. "Is that what you think this is?" he asked quietly. "Isn't it?" She forced herself to meet his gaze. "You said yourself you needed to prove something." He stepped back, nodding once. "I understand. Good night, Ms. Sharma." The return to formality cut deeper than she expected. After he left, Anya sank into her chair, wondering if she had just protected herself from inevitable hurt or sabotaged the possibility of something genuine before it could even begin. Outside her window, spring flowers swayed in the night breeze, their fragrance a bittersweet reminder of new beginnings and the courage they required. Blossoming trust. The weeks following the Wellness Wing launch brought a strained formality between Anya and Vikram. Their interactions, once warming into something genuine, had frozen into polite professionalism. They worked efficiently together, exchanged necessary information, and maintained a careful distance that left the resort staff exchanging puzzled glances. May arrived with unprecedented bookings and glowing press coverage. From a business perspective, everything was thriving, yet Anya found herself restless, questioning her decision that night in her office. Had she protected herself or simply run from something real before giving it a chance? One rainy afternoon, Anya sat in the staff cafeteria reviewing event proposals when Priya slid into the seat across from her, fixing her with a knowing look. "You know, I've worked with Mr. Malhotra for nearly a decade," the older woman began without preamble. "And I've never seen him like this." Anya kept her eyes on her tablet. "Like what?" "Distracted. Checking his watch before your weekly meetings. Actually using his vacation days." Priya sipped her tea. "Something happened between you two, didn't it?" "Nothing happened," Anya replied too quickly. "That's the point." Priya's eyebrows rose slightly. One of those nothings." "It wouldn't be appropriate," Anya insisted, more to herself than to Priya. "He's my employer. Is that the real reason?" Priya's gaze was gentle but penetrating. "Or are you afraid of what might happen if you both stopped hiding behind excuses?" Before Anya could respond, her phone chimed with a message from Vikram's assistant. Her presence was requested immediately in the conference room. An unexpected investor had arrived. Grateful for the interruption, Anya gathered her materials. "Duty calls." "It always does," Priya murmured, until suddenly, it doesn't. The cryptic comment followed Anya as she made her way to the main building, shaking raindrops from her jacket. When she entered the conference room, she was surprised to find Vikram alone, standing by the windows watching the storm. "Your assistant mentioned an investor meeting," she said. Confused. "A necessary fiction," he admitted, turning to face her. "I need to speak with you privately without office speculation." Something in his serious expression sent a flutter of apprehension through her. "Is something wrong?" "I've received an offer." He gestured to documents on the table. "Pinnacle Resorts wants to acquire Everest Pines. They're prepared to pay considerably above market value." The news landed like a physical blow. Rohit's company? After everything he did? Ironic, isn't it? His laugh held no humor. The prodigal friend returns not with betrayal this time, but with an apparent olive branch worth several billion rupees. Anya approached the table, scanning the figures in disbelief. These numbers are extraordinary. But why would you even consider this after what happened? Because it might be the wisest financial decision. His voice was carefully neutral. The hospitality industry is consolidating. Being part of a larger group offers significant advantages. She studied him, trying to read beyond his businessman facade. And what does your instinct tell you? My instinct? He sighed, running a hand through his hair in that rare gesture of frustration she'd come to recognize. My instinct hasn't been particularly reliable where Rohit is concerned. The vulnerability in the admission touched her. That's why you wanted to speak with me? For my opinion? Yes, he met her eyes directly. You see things clearly, without the emotional history I carry. I trust your judgment. The simple statement, I trust your judgment, hung in the air between them, weighted with significance beyond the immediate decision. For Vikram Malhotra to admit trust in anyone's judgment, but his own represented a profound shift. Anya took a moment to consider her response carefully. May I review the complete offer before giving you my thoughts? He nodded, sliding a folder toward her. Take all the time you need. The board meets tomorrow afternoon to discuss it. For the next several hours, Anya immersed herself in the acquisition proposal, analyzing every clause and condition with meticulous attention. The more she read, the more a nagging suspicion grew. That evening, she requested access to the resort's financial records from the past year, and by midnight, her suspicions had crystallized into certainty. She found Vikram still in his office despite the late hour, his desk lamp the only illumination in the darkened room. He looked up as she entered, fatigue evident in the shadows beneath his eyes. You should be sleeping, she said gently. So should you. His smile was tired but genuine. Have you reached a conclusion? I have. She placed her notes on his desk. It's a trap, Vikram. He straightened, immediately alert. Explain. The offer is deliberately timed to coincide with our seasonal cash flow low point, just before the summer high season revenues begin. She indicated specific clauses in the agreement. These terms would force you to accept or reject within 15 days before our Q2 earnings are announced. Understanding dawned in his eyes as he reviewed her analysis. They're anticipating our strongest quarter ever. Exactly. Once those numbers become public, the resort's valuation will increase significantly. They're trying to buy before the surge. She pushed another document forward. And there's more. I found unusual patterns in recent booking cancellations from high-value corporate clients. Vikram scanned the report, his expression darkening. Systematic poaching of our business clients to artificially depress our current performance metrics. Someone from Pinnacle has been offering those clients significant incentives to cancel with us and book with them instead. Anya sat on the edge of his desk, closer than they'd been in weeks. They're manipulating the circumstances to make this offer seem more attractive than it is. Rohit. Vikram's voice was cold. Still playing the same games, and what will you do? He was silent for a long moment, studying the documents before him. When he looked up, determination had replaced fatigue in his eyes. Decline the offer, obviously, but more importantly, expose the manipulation to the board. They need to understand what we're dealing with. He stood, moving to the window where the night storm had finally passed, leaving a clear sky scattered with stars. Thank you, Anya. Without your insight, I might have missed this. She joined him at the window, careful to maintain a professional distance despite the late hour and intimate setting. That's what partnerships are for. Is that what we are? He asked quietly. Partners? The question carried layers of meaning neither had been willing to address since that night after the gala. Anya hesitated, uncertain how to respond. I think we work well together, she offered carefully. Vikram turned to face her fully. Is that all? His directness caught her off guard. For weeks they had maintained the polite fiction that nothing had changed between them, that no moment of connection had been interrupted on that moonlit terrace. Vikram, no, please. He held up a hand. I've respected your wish to keep our relationship strictly professional. But before I face Rohit and the board tomorrow, I need to say something. He took a deep breath, as if steeling himself for a difficult admission. You were right that night. About me still healing, about needing to prove I could trust again. But you were wrong about one thing. What's that? She asked softly. You're not just proof of anything. His voice had dropped to barely above a whisper. You're the reason, Anya. The reason I remembered how to see goodness in people again. The reason I wanted to try. The raw honesty in his words stripped away her carefully constructed defenses. I was afraid, she admitted. Afraid of being a chapter in your recovery story rather than something more. And now? His eyes searched hers. Before she could answer, his phone rang shrilly, the distinctive tone he used for emergency situations. With an apologetic glance, he answered, his expression quickly shifting to alarm. When? He demanded. How many? Yes, evacuate immediately. I'm on my way. He ended the call, already moving toward the door. There's been a landslide on the mountain above the new construction site. Several workers are trapped in the barracks. I'm coming with you, Anya said without hesitation, grabbing her jacket. The next 12 hours unfolded in a blur of crisis management. The pre-dawn light revealed the devastating scale of the disaster. Heavy rains had loosened the mountainside, sending mud and debris crashing into the worker accommodations. While the main resort remained untouched, the construction area had suffered significant damage. Vikram worked alongside rescue teams, coordinating efforts and providing resources. Anya managed communications, arranging emergency medical care and support for affected families. By mid-afternoon, all workers had been accounted for, 3 with serious injuries but miraculously no fatalities. As the immediate danger passed, new problems emerged. News of the landslide spread rapidly through social media, with rumors suggesting structural instability throughout the resort property. Pinnacle Resort's PR team seized the opportunity, issuing statements questioning Everest, Pines' safety standards and suggesting the acquisition offer might be reconsidered in light of recent events. They're using this tragedy to manipulate public perception and drive down our value even further, Vikram said grimly as they reviewed the developing media coverage from the emergency command center. The board meeting is in 3 hours, and now I'll be defending against both the acquisition and these safety allegations. Anya watched him closely, noting the determination that had replaced his earlier vulnerability. What do you need from me? Honest answer? He met her gaze directly. Everything. The simple word carried such weight between them. Without hesitation, Anya reached for his hand. Then that's what you'll get. Together, they developed a comprehensive response strategy. Transparent communication about the landslide, clear safety reports from independent engineers, and a support program for the injured workers and their families. By the time the board convened, they had transformed a potential disaster into a demonstration of the resort's commitment to integrity and care. The board meeting itself became a turning point. Vikram presented not only their findings about Pinnacle's manipulative acquisition strategy, but also their crisis response plan. When Rohit attempted to leverage the landslide to strengthen his position, Anya stepped forward with documented evidence of safety violations at Pinnacle's own properties, information she had quietly researched weeks earlier after the wellness wing launch. Mr. Kapoor's concern for safety would be more convincing if his own resorts met the minimum standards required by industry regulations, she stated calmly, distributing reports to stunned board members. By the meeting's end, the acquisition offer was unanimously rejected, and the board had approved additional investment in Everest Pines' expansion plans. As members filed out, several paused to congratulate Vikram on his leadership and to acknowledge Anya's crucial role in uncovering Pinnacle's schemes. Rohit was the last to leave, his earlier confidence replaced by barely contained fury. This isn't over. Vikram, he muttered as he gathered his papers. You've made a powerful enemy today. Vikram merely smiled. No, Rohit. I've finally recognized that you were never a friend to begin with. He glanced at Anya, standing supportively nearby. Some people enter our lives to teach us what loyalty isn't. Others show us what it truly is. After Rohit stormed out, Vikram and Anya found themselves alone in the conference room, the tension of the day slowly dissipating in the quiet aftermath of victory. You were magnificent, Vikram said softly. We both were. Anya smiled. A good team. Is that what you want us to be, a team? His question picked up their interrupted conversation from the night before, his eyes searching hers for answers. Anya took a deep breath, recognizing the moment of truth had arrived. I think we already are. The question is whether we're only that or something more. Vikram moved closer, his usual reserve completely abandoned. And your answer? My answer is that I'm no longer afraid. She met his gaze steadily. I've watched you face your past, your fears, even literal disaster with courage and integrity. I've seen the man behind the walls you built, and that man is someone I could... She hesitated, then finished honestly. Someone I already cared deeply about. Anya. Her name was almost a prayer on his lips. When the landslide happened, do you know what my first thought was? Not the resort, not the business implications, you. Whether you were safe. And I realized then that all my careful distance, all my protective barriers meant nothing, because somehow, without my permission, you had become the most important person in my life. He took her hands in his, the gesture both gentle and certain. I don't know how to do this, how to be vulnerable again, but I want to try, with you. The simple honesty of his admission touched her deeply. I think, she said softly, that's exactly how trust begins. Not with certainty, but with the courage to try despite the risk. Outside the windows, the late afternoon sun broke through clouds that had lingered since the storm, bathing the mountains in golden light. Within the room, something equally luminous blossomed between them as Vikram drew her closer. I have been cold for so long, he whispered, afraid that warmth meant weakness. You showed me otherwise, and I was afraid that professional success meant personal sacrifice, she admitted. You showed me we can have both. When he finally kissed her, it felt like the natural conclusion to a story that had been writing itself all along, from suspicion to respect, from respect to friendship, from friendship to this deeper connection that defied simple categorization. Months later, as summer faded into autumn, Anya stood on the private terrace of what was now their shared penthouse suite. The resort sprawled below, its expansion nearly complete, its reputation stronger than ever after weathering both Pinnacle's schemes and the landslide recovery. Vikram joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist as they watched the sunset paint the mountains in shades of amber and gold. The board approved your community education initiative today, he murmured against her hair. Construction begins next month. Anya smiled, leaning back against him. The program would provide hospitality training to local youth, creating career pathways while addressing the resort's staffing needs. A perfect blend of heart and business sense that had become their signature approach. We make a good team, she said, echoing words spoken months earlier in very different circumstances. The best. He turned her gently to face him. Which is why I have a proposal for you. Another business venture? She teased. A personal one. His eyes held both vulnerability and certainty as he reached into his pocket. One based on what you taught me. That loyalty isn't about what you get, but what you give when it matters most. The diamond ring caught the fading sunlight, but it was the love in his eyes that took her breath away. I once thought trust was a weakness, he said softly. You showed me it's the greatest strength we can possess. Will you continue showing me for the rest of our lives? As Anya looked up at the man who had journeyed from frost to spring before her eyes, her answer came as naturally as breathing. In that moment, surrounded by mountains that had witnessed their evolution from professional colleagues to partners in every sense, she understood that some journeys of the heart required nothing more and nothing less than the courage to trust in love's possibilities. Yes, she whispered, rising on tiptoes to seal her answer with a kiss. Always. Above them, the first stars of evening appeared in the darkening sky, witnesses to a promise born not of naive certainty, but of chosen vulnerability. The strongest foundation on which any love could build.